as our sounding rocket. Weather looks good, but that's still a pretty high critical failure rate. Hello everyone, Thranks is here and welcome to Mars Horizon. A very fun game. We had the privilege of getting a free copy from the developers a little bit ahead of full release, and we did some streaming with it. And it turns out not only is it a lot of fun to play, everybody had a lot of fun watching it. So, by popular demand, we've decided to make it a full series, and we're going to be starting a new game. Now, I've learned a lot in the stream. We had some losses, but we also had some successes. But most importantly, we played it on normal difficulty. I think we're going to turn it up. But something I noticed is even if you make a custom agency, right, the place you pick determines sort of what your headquarters looks like, and also what your rocketry looks like. So while we did the ESA on the stream, I think we'll do NASA this time, and maybe I won't be so compelled to compete with them. We might actually pick a little bit more of a cooperative stance this time around. So we have had many space commanders in the developers Discord request kind of custom flags and logos. I think that idea is being vetted, but it is not implemented yet. So we're going to go with something fairly streamlined. I sort of like this. I definitely kind of like that. It's got the blue. It's got the red. I think that works. I think that works. And we're just going to call it the Azure Flame Space Agency. For our headquarters, though, nope. So our headquarters is going to be Azure Launch Control. Now the traits. This is where things get interesting. And I think this is where we have the biggest ability to hinder ourselves or benefit ourselves. As I've taken a look at all of these extensively, and we've played the game for almost about 10 hours now, I know a little bit about what I'm doing. I think backup systems is probably the best perk in the game. It allows you to, once per mission, restart the entire task. Early game, this when there's only one task in the mission, this means you can restart the whole thing. Other times, this means you can potentially undo a catastrophic failure where you've put yourself in a bad position, either heating up or losing drift. As long as you haven't failed the mission, because you can't restart after you fail, but if you see that you are going to fail, you can choose to restart. And I really, really like that. The contractors are pretty good. Commercial insight seems beneficial. I think anything that gives you more money and gives you more science is where it's at. The other thing I like is Human Endeavor, plus 20% science reward for crewed missions. As we've talked about in the Discord, we're going to be focusing on manned spaceflight primarily. We'll do some of the other stuff, sure, as a space program, but this is going to be our big kicker, is we're going to do manned missions. Some of the other things are not as obvious what we want to take. So I don't like these. We took these on the stream. Premium assembly, premium construction. Yikes. 20% costs. Those are just gross. Gross. Lower payload reliability? Nah. Lower launch reliability? No. So unknown entity I was tempted to take. All diplomatic relations start at neutral, but I don't. No. We're going to try to cooperate a little bit with some agencies. Not with all of them, but some of them. Team player. Space Subsidy is an amazing ability, and I think that also has to be one that we take. Starts with $2 million in funding. Yes, please. 2,000, right? Quick math check, right. What I don't want is this. I want to take a -1. So we have a couple of options for negatives that I don't think are that bad. Not because it's easy. Means you only get support bonus if you get a first place milestone finish. I'm tempted to take that because that's kind of the way we all think, right? If you're not first, you're last. You've got to get in there and be first for it to really count for anything. And really, we don't if we don't get first, we tend to get far behind. Although we did get second and third a couple of times. But on hard, it's much tougher to get a milestone at all. Also, this one, double the support penalty for failed missions. Ideally, we wouldn't fail that many. I think, honestly, it comes down to this. Not because it's easy, because really, we want to get there first. The other one, yes, global innovation. Science income from friendly and allied diplomatic relations increased by 50%. It's either that or we go with commercial insight to receive more funding for lucrative missions. That actually might be where we want to be. That might be where we want to be. Commercial insight, the human endeavor, backup systems, space subsidy. I'm feeling pretty good about this. And then, of course, not because it's easy. So this, of course, means that it would be really great if we could potentially get an allied group here. So I'm tempted to sort of randomize until we had an ally. Allied with China. I kind of like the contractors that Japan has. And so I'm kind of thinking we're just going to... And this might be a little cheeky, as we're trying to get specifically what we want. Allied with ESA is not bad. It's not bad. There. So this is what we want. So we're competing with the ESA. Oh, so we might be a little antagonistic with them at some point. But allied with Japan, neutral with China and Russia. I think that's probably as good as we're gonna get it. We're just gonna leave it at that. And this looks good. Let's get to it. Actually, we're not going to be doing the tutorial mission. We are going to play on veteran difficulty. And so this is an option I noticed. You can auto-resolve certain missions. As tempting as I would maybe want to do that, I feel like I'm going to perform better than the auto-resolve random roll is, because the random roll, you could fail. And if we were going to auto-resolve missions, there was no point in taking redoing a task. This is the core mechanic of the game, is playing the missions, so we're not going to auto-resolve any missions. All right, that being said, we may go quickly through some missions that we've already done before that are very easy. Welcome, Director. The space race has begun. Staying ahead of the pack will require unprecedented feats of engineering and no shortage of daring. Your role is to develop our space program, leading us into orbit and beyond. Keep our agency at the forefront of space science and inspire generations to come with our triumphs. Humans will one day set foot on another planet. Make sure we get there first. Good luck, Director. Okay, so a little bit about the game for those that hadn't seen the stream. We're going to start in 1957, January. We're going to set our research. So we've already got the test launch researched, headquarters, vehicle hangar, and the sounding rocket. So we need the small launch pad to be researched first. And we're going to start planning our mission for the first test launch. So we are going to build a sounding rocket. Now, the sounding rocket, I don't think we're going to actually name as a rocket. We have a naming convention that we've got kind of built into the game, and we're going to reveal that when the time comes. But for the first sounding rocket, because this one gets used a lot in the beginning and not so much towards the end, we're going to keep this one Ed the 13th, because that's what we did in the stream. And Ed's sounding rocket has some rough time in the beginning, and we don't want to put that on anybody. So we'll confirm that. And of course, with our space subsidy, we're going to start building right away. It's going to take 2 months to complete. And hopefully we will complete our research on the small launch pad. Okay, small launch pad is complete. So now we're going to need to build it somewhere, and we have Ed the 13th is complete. Launch reliability up 5% for our engineers. Thank you very much for that. We, however, cannot launch it without a launch pad. So let's go to our base of operations here. At Azure Launch Control, it looks pretty good. I'm thinking we just go ahead and... That's kind of expensive to remove. Holy smokes! Oh my goodness, that would be like all our money removing those rocks. No, we need to wait until we have the research to remove obstructions at a cheaper rate. Yeah, some of these are really cheap, some of these are expensive. Just got to pay attention we don't accidentally spend the money we need just removing some rocks that could wait. So we'll do a small launch pad there. It's going to be constructed in 1 month, so we'll plan our mission for the next month. For now, though, our research is going to be training missions. So we need to unlock some training missions. Payload reliability. The backup generator is important to get to, but then so is mission control to get that second month, or that second mission unlocked. We could try to push for the artificial satellite really quickly. I think when it comes down to it, though, oh, it's such a tough decision. I think the research lab is where we need to be. These first few decisions are actually incredibly important. Alright, small launch pad is complete. We're still ahead of everyone as far as we have no training available. We're just going to launch next month. We're just going to select next month to launch. We're still well ahead of everybody, but the other agencies are gonna join us in stuff very quickly. So there we go. So we have access to Japan's contractors once we unlock contractors, but most importantly, we get a large boost to our science because of them. That's not as much as I thought. That's interesting. So really being neutral doesn't do you any good. You want to either be allied or antagonistic. We're going to have to work on that. We're going to play a little bit more of the diplomatic game in this one. So let's go to the next month for our first test launch. Research lab is complete. We've entered the dawn of spaceflight. Alright, looks like Russia and China and... so everybody's planning their first test launch. We're going to go first. Only have a 25% launch reliability. It is our first launch ever. We're going to be christening Ed the 13th as our sounding rocket. Weather looks good, but that's still a pretty high critical failure rate. This window is bound to happen, but let's just see what we get.
5, 4,
3, 2, 1. Ignition. And we have liftoff. Yep. It's looking good so far. Okay, okay. So we got a suborbital sounding rocket test flight, and right, so we had a negative effect minus science reward. That's going to happen a lot on the harder difficulties, but the good news is the sounding rocket gets a lot of experience every time we launch it. So, and we were first test launch, 20 support. As you can see, the support for milestones, is it good? Yes. Is it game breaking if you don't get it? No, it's not. Let's see. We got a new building now. We can do the research lab, which is going to give us training missions. And I think the best placement for this is going to be actually right along here. Let's do that. Okay, so for the next bit of research, I'm thinking... we can't even... we need to spend the science we have researching the artificial satellite mission. But there's no request mission for Earth currently. Okay, new request on Earth. So this mission should be yet another sounding rocket. Right. Atmospheric sampling, no real penalties, but it gives us more support and more science, which we're going to do these a lot. Oh no. Can we not... Can we not name Ed the 13th? Can we not save this name for our sounding rocket? Maybe it's because we have no other options. They're like, yeah, you have no other options. Okay, sounds good. We'll push it to a month. Artificial satellite research is complete, so then we'll next do the Explorer payload, because we cannot start the construction until that is fully researched. Alright, research lab is complete, so now what we can do is, look at that, we got better launch reliability. That's good. So now we can select for training our science increase, which we really need, and then we're going to push the launch down a bit to get as much science out of it as possible. Do I want to go to January? No, I want the support for our funding is reanalyzed at the new year. So we're going to push for November, actually. That way, if we have to delay for December, we can. I think that's the right decision. Atmospheric sampling. Okay, so now that the Explorer research is complete, we can go to the vehicles, which we're going to need for it. The Vanguard and the Viking. So we're going to start researching those right now. And we're going to do our atmospheric launch, hopefully this month, and begin construction on the satellite payload after that. So far, so good. Oh, weather looks good, too. 40% launch reliability, good conditions. That's still a high critical failure rate, 14. That's okay, it's as good as it's going to get.
4, 3, 2, 1.
We need to get that launch reliability up, though. There's ignition.
We have liftoff.
All right, looking good. We could use the science. All right, okay. Okay, so far we're rolling good. We're rolling right out the gate at a pretty good clip. Almost got the launch success. Minus 25 science, but we boosted the training with 15. So each sounding rocket adds better launch success for the next one. Okay, now we can actually start the artificial satellite. And look, they have already completed the required research. The other agencies move at a brisk pace. Oh my goodness, do they move at a brisk pace. So let's look at our first payload here. The Explorer payload is... Let's see. So all we have to do is achieve Earth orbit. I'm thinking we spend the extra money building the increased power model. I think that's where we want to be, actually. It's more expensive, but again, we have the money early on, and we definitely want to hit our top rating with this despite any negative effects. So let's pay for the more expensive model with extra power. Yep, we'll begin construction on the Explorer. We've completed research on the Vanguard, so now we'll complete research on the Viking. And hopefully, yep, here's our budgetary review. Okay, let's go. All right, new funding tier. That's what we want to see. And we got the Viking research complete just in time. So the beginning of the game kind of moves quickly because, again, we're in competition, but early spaceflight... payload reliability is down. Support reward is up. This makes me glad we paid for the extra, the improved payload. That space subsidy already given us dividends. Okay, so now we have our new rocket. And it's pretty much going to be the Viking with the Vanguard booster. So as you can see, this is sort of a match that's already set up for you. You have the upper stage meets the minimum requirement, so does the Earth orbit. The booster meets the minimum requirement of the upper stage, and it requires a small launch pad. This design will be used quite frequently here in the beginning. And we're going to find out exactly who gets this one. So we have a list of names for the rocket already selected. We're going to go ahead and select them from our list. Okay. TGM. Wonderful. Let's go ahead and we'll remove that name from the list, as that is the name of our rocket now. We're going to save that design. Yep. Okay, so this will be our artificial satellite payload rocket, the TGM. Let's confirm and begin construction. 2 months' time. Okay, so now we're already under the gun. China and Soviet Union have announced they're launching their first artificial satellite in 10 months. That gives us a little bit of time because we're going to finish construction of the TGM rocket with our artificial satellite payload in 2 months. And then from there, as long as we launch sooner than 8 months, we'll be good. I think this is where things start to get tricky, right? Because we could keep pushing with missions. In fact, I kind of want to, but we need mission control. We need the ability to launch more than one mission at a time. And the power generator is also a big piece of the puzzle of what we need. Unfortunately, the way I'm looking at this, the rocket test pad and the spacecraft assembly facility are all things that we require. What do we require first? I'm going to go with the rocket test pad. It's probably the most important. Because if we can't get the rockets off the ground, then what are we doing with ourselves? Okay, rocket test pad is complete, and then we're going to go straight to mission control. And let's go ahead and build the rocket test pad right over here. Here. Yeah, this is the better area. Launch reliability and vehicle build cost. Try to get some of these roads to like make sense, huh? Maybe? That's okay. We know that it's cooperating. All right. Okay, starting to feel pretty good, but I know it's only going to be a matter of time before we start having to really push ourselves out of our comfort zone. Let's see. The TGM rocket is officially complete, ready to carry our first artificial satellite. Engineers have managed to optimize the vehicle's attitude control. Better launch reliability. I like that. I think the training focus should again be on science. And I think, so we can see Japan is going for July, so we want to go for June. And that'll let us be first. If we have to delay to July, then we're going to get first with Japan. Now let's go for June. We can always delay it a month if we need to. Let's go for June. All right. Everybody is announcing they're ready with their artificial satellite. Rocket test pad is complete. And mission control is still there. So we can't take a second mission on until we get that mission control going. Alright, artificial satellite. Trying to be first in June. This is good. Only 50% on the payload, but this is good. Let's look at what the conditions are like out in the field. Alright, not bad. Not bad conditions. This will be launch day of our first TGM rocket. Let's see what we get. Good conditions. That's acceptable. Under 10% is where I want to be. All right, we're go for launch.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, ignition. As long as we don't get, some random issue. We have liftoff. We need this one to be successful to maintain the momentum and pacing. No, no! Oh. Okay. Go right at the 8% line. Critical failure. Flight engine failure. Well, we learned a little bit about our booster in upper stages. The oh my gosh. Yeah, that hurts. That hurts. The problem is now, unless Japan fails. Oh, and yeah, we're behind now. Okay. Well, there's not much we can do about that. We kind of gave it the best we could. Oh, we paid for the more expensive payload too. I feel like we can't just always pay for the most expensive payload. So it's a we have the money now, but it won't be long before we don't. Drat. Let's just go with the standard model for this one. I think that's where we want to be. There's not much we can do about that. After analyzing data from your recently failed launch, researchers have identified several improvements that can be made to your booster technology. Sometimes we learn more when the things blow up, a particularly enthusiastic engineer commented. 250 science, that's good. And it looks like Japan is going to be launching today. Ooh, several newspapers have declared a crisis after Japan launched the world's first artificial satellite. Despite Japan releasing full specifications of the satellite's scientific instruments, some articles claim the launch poses a serious security threat, causing anxiety in the public. Your advisors suggest praising the scientific achievement will help dampen public fears and improve your relationship with Japan. Alternatively, your agency could gain support for its space program by capitalizing on the anxiety. Japan is our ally, and the truth is we need the support though because of our own issue. I think we can afford to praise this achievement. Yep, they are our ally and we want to maintain that. They beat us fair and square. I mean, we had a critical engine failure. There's not a lot we can do about that. Okay, so for the next vehicle design, we're going to reuse the TGM rocket. And I think that means now we're ready for mission control, which I want to be here. Yep. And that's going to give us how many months of that? 4 months. And then we'll be able to start doing 2 missions at a time. That's a big milestone. All right. So kind of got pushed back a little bit on that one. The real question is, where do we go next? Do we send an animal into space? Or a lunar orbit. Oh my gosh, read the description of this one. Launching an animal into space provides crucial testing of life support systems without risking astronauts. They can also be sent in smaller spacecraft and don't necessarily need to be brought back to Earth. Yikes. Don't need to be brought back to Earth? Whoa. I think while this is kind of the natural progression towards humans in space, we're not gonna worry about this. No, I think we're gonna focus on getting something to lunar orbit. We want to use our subsidy to our advantage and try to get to the moon quickly. Yeah, we're gonna be well behind the curve on the artificial satellite. ESA just completed theirs. China and the Soviet Union are launching theirs next month. So unless one of them fails, we are well and behind the curve of the artificial satellite. All right, TGM is complete. No effect noted. I think at this point, I mean, we could turn up launch reliability, but I think at this point we need the science, so we just go for the science. We're already behind. We might as well push it all the way to March, really. There's no reason to rush now if we're not going to. %5 science. Hold on. What's our current science reward? 320. So the question is, %5 science is going to be like, what, 16 science? And so this would be almost 30. This would be 32 science. I think we just give up the 32 science. We launch early and we get more missions under our belt. We need to make up for lost time. So, can't really afford to delay. China is already pushing lunar orbit in 9 months. What? So let's be clear. For them to have that scheduled, they have researched lunar orbit, the payload Pioneer, and at least one upper stage and booster that are capable of reaching the moon. And they've built the payload. In order for them to be... that's ridiculous. Playing on the hardest difficulty is not for the faint of heart. Yeah, and there it is. We are going to be officially 5th. Japan is also doing lunar orbit in 12 months. Oof. Alright, mission control is complete, which means now we can launch more sounding rockets. We're just going to type this in every time, Ed. Ed the 13th, our sounding rocket. Alright, let's at least get the artificial satellite launched. We have a budgetary review. We lost support. Oh, please don't hurt my funding. Alright, artificial satellite. Last in show. But we're going to give it a shot anyways. Good weather. That's what I'm talking about. Launch reliability is still in the 60s. Good conditions. Down to 7%. If it was 7% last time, we would have had a successful launch. Alright, we're go for launch.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's ignition.
We have liftoff.
Come on. We really need this one. Okay. Okay. Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, jeez. Yeah, no negative effects noted. That's good. Okay, so these the TGM rocket parts get a little more reliable. That's good. All right, now we have our first artificial satellite in January 1959. All we have to do is achieve Earth orbit. 3 and 3. I think it's easiest if we do a signal return test. Make sure we got a good signal from it, and then we'll do some atmospheric sampling. Okay, well, we're still in the dawn of spaceflight. Terrestrial weather patterns have caused a degradation in the signal. Command's output will be reduced by 1. We need that command. We need the comms in order to initiate atmospheric sampling, so we're going to have to spend the extra power to resist that malfunction. Atmospheric sampling, yes! See, it was worth spending that energy. The camera's focusing apparatus found its target quickly, allowing more images to be captured at high quality. This will generate an additional data. That's going to make this successful with the bonus reward, because now what we can do is we can recharge the battery, and then we can initiate a data transmission and send all of that data back down to ground control. Look at that. We didn't even need the energy. Good data transmission. And that is a successful mission. Better late than never, is what we say. Hey, we did it! 5th. But we got the bonus rewards, and that's what counts. All right, and that's going to be where we wrap up this one. We'll pick it up in the next one. I hope you've had a good time watching, because as always, I've had a good time playing. Until next time, take care.